Now, the inability of a lot of Muslims to afford the cost of this animal this year is only but a sideshow to the real essence of the celebration, at least in the estimation of the Puritans. And for a quick discussion on El-Kabir, the state of Islam in Nigeria today in the face of insecurity and other national challenges, we're now being joined by Abdul Nasir Al-Asfa, Director ClearPath Islamic Center, Lekki, Lagos. He's also the Imam Jazeerah Mosque, Badore, Lagos. Good to have you, and happy Salah celebrations to you.
Good to be on the show, and thank you for having me.
Okay. Now maybe we could start here. Help some of us or educate us as to the distinction between the previous Salah celebrations, Eid al-Mubarak, and this celebration from the layman's perspective. Okay. The only distinction we may observe is that a ram is being slaughtered this time as opposed to last time. So help us with that.
Okay, it's good to be on the show, and basically the previous one is called Eid al-Fitr, and then this one is called alAdha or El-Kabir. So basically, for in Islam, Islam is a religion whereby a lot of acts of worship are required of the individual. It's a legalistic religion whereby you have you have rules and regulation governing the entirety of human beings' sojourn on earth. So, and all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So we have also opportunity for us to celebrate religiously. And then, of course, this celebration also comes right after major acts of worship. Like Eid al-Fitr, the one you talked about earlier, that comes after the culmination of a month's fasting, the month of Ramadan. So immediately after Ramadan, we celebrate. That's called Eid al-Fitr. Even linguistically, the name indicates it means the celebration of having broken or finished the fasting. Then we have this one which is called Eid al-Adha, the Eid whereby, and some call it Eid al-Kabir. Eid al-Kabir literally means the bigger Eid. And it's called Eid al-Adha, the Eid in which you actually slaughter an animal in commemoration of the lifetime, story, and sacrifice of that great patriarch, recognized by all monotheistic religion, Abraham, the friend of God. So basically, this is the difference between Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. One comes after the month of Ramadan, and then this comes after the culmination of the rites of Hajj. As we slaughter at home now, people on Hajj also will be doing their slaughtering. It's called Yawm al-Nahr for those on Hajj. So basically, that's the difference.
All right, ma'am. How has COVID-19, especially this third wave that is threatening to engulf Nigeria, how has it dampened this year's feast of sacrifice, so to speak?
It varies from place to place. In some places, it's having a very drastic impact. I think in the Southeast Asian countries, whereby they are having a very serious wave, it's really affecting the Eid. In places like Saudi Arabia, we can see what happened this year. The Hajj is usually, you have millions of people going for Hajj, and this year it's just 60,000, not even up to 100,000. And these 60,000 are all Saudi resident individuals, even if they are not Saudis. All of them are resident in Saudi Arabia. So people cannot do the Hajj, unlike what we did in the past. But for the Nigerian factor, I think Africa generally has been a bit lucky with the pandemic, and we've not seen the very massive loss of life and hospitalization that Europe or some other places have seen. So looking at some of the Eid ground today, you don't see that passion. This thing has been with us. This is going to be the second or so Eid that we're going to be involved with COVID-19. So earlier on, you see people with their face masks and stuff like that, but for now, you don't see it having that large impact. You see people going to the Eid ground, a lot of people without a face mask. So we continue praying for the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has not really dampened celebration this part of the world.
Okay, speaking of the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, what's the significance of that? And then what happens to those who, even in times past, putting COVID-19 aside, they couldn't afford to go on that pilgrimage? What happens to them?
Yeah, basically, there's a general rule that underpins all the instruction of Islam. And that general rule is that what you do not have the ability to do, Allah does not require it of you. There's a verse of the Quran that says that Allah will not burden a soul beyond its scope. La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. So if you want to go for Hajj, you must have the means. The road must be secured and stuff like that. So if you don't have the means, you are not liable in any way or in any form. You are free because you don't have the means. Allah did not give you the means. Ditto for the sacrifice of these animals. If you don't have the means, if ram is so expensive, 250 and stuff like that, you are not required. That is talking about the ability to go for Hajj or to do the Hajj. Now, coming to the spiritual significance, of course, the Hajj in itself comprises a lot of, it is multifaceted. And a lot of these facets has a relationship to do with that patriarch I mentioned, Abraham. And you can literally see the resemblance between some of what happened in the lifetime of Ibrahim, as far as Islam is concerned, and then some of this rite of Hajj, the slaughtering of the animal. In fact, as far as Islam is concerned, the Kaaba, that cuboid that is circumambulated during Hajj, was built by Abraham and Ishmael. So they built this. All these have a significance with the lifetime of Abraham. And of course, we have some of them that deals with something like a semblance of the enactment of what's going to happen on Qiyamah. Part of the Hajj rites is staying in a place called Arafah. And then, of course, the Eid will be celebrated the next day of Arafah. In Arafah, you see everybody in two garments, white, whether you are rich, whether you are poor, whether you are royalty, whether you are a commoner, whether you are a laity, whether you are a cleric. There is no difference between us. We are all humans and equal among God. So the plains of Arafah, according to some scholars, signify how the day of resurrection is going to be. Everybody is going to come to meet his or our Creator, equal, no difference, no demarcation between poor and rich, between old and young. We're going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for judgment. So the rite of Hajj, you can summarize everything as that drive to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to show reverence to the one who created us all.
All right, Imam, please help me or probably help our viewers understand, what role do religious leaders like you and the rest of them we have in Nigeria play in helping, probably from the morality perspective, curb this spate of insurgency and banditry we are actually witnessing in Nigeria?
So you could, and then it's something that is a very interesting question. And when you study the Nigerian society, and you break it down into sectors. So you look at the judiciary, you look at the law enforcement, you look at the politics, virtually every sector of the Nigerian society, and you realize that there's something that is wrong, and that is the problem of corruption. A lot of this insurgency, everything goes back to that corruption. The corruption in our value system, the corruption in the way we do things. It's a major problem. And then our society needs reform. Everybody says it needs reform. And you look at the Nigerian society also, you realize that the majority of Nigerians would say that they are either Muslim or Christians. And then Muslim and Christians share the same moral principles. Our theology is different, definitely, and of course we have differences, and even in acts, in the way we worship. But when it comes to morality, that is when it comes to what is right and what is wrong, we all believe in objective, universal values of moral values, and it goes on to it becomes compulsory on those who are religious leaders. And unfortunately, and that is where the problem is. The pulpit and the altar also oftentimes have gotten their hands stained and dirty by the politics of the day. So what the reformation of Nigeria is something that has to do more with morality. And this is something that religious leaders need to rise up and do. And it's unfortunate that, of course, you find corruption also in the altar or the pulpit, as the case may be. But it is our responsibility as religious leaders to go back to the scripture and tell the people what is morally obligatory on them. I discussed with somebody this morning. I told the individual that I was shocked when I heard about a particular kidnapping case. And then the guys who were the kidnappers were people who were regularly observing their prayers. I mean, their salah. They were regularly observing it. In fact, they were actually even observing those things that are not even compulsory on them. They sort of made a demarcation between the spiritual obligations and what is obligatory on them as far as the Islamic morality is concerned. And it shows that these people at base still have that religious conscience you can appeal to. If those who are at the ends of religious authority can only pick up the mantle and do what is given to them, what is their calling, their responsibility from the heavens. And so the unfortunate thing is that you find religious leaders also getting their hands soiled in this problem. If you want to reform in society, it has to start from that very moral basis. And this is right and this is wrong, and you have to abide by them. So you see Nigerians flock to the houses of worship. Some will say there's no money in the land and things like that. But people are buying their rams. People are traveling home. So people want to celebrate the social aspect of religion, but they don't want to live up to the moral expectations of religion. But of course, when you find a religious leader also getting involved, being arrested in shady deals and stuff like that, people are going to say, okay, those who are supposed to be the custodians of morality also themselves are not pure. And so you find it just saying that all of us are corrupt. No, it's not all of us. You just have a very huge chunk of the majority of the population being corrupt. Religious leaders need to step up into this role and be the conscience of the nation. And I'm sure that if everybody starts this campaign of preaching morality in our nation, we're going to see changes. Right from Imam, the family to society to communities.
El-Kabir, Nasir, alAdha, thank you so much for sharing with us, and enjoy your celebrations as you continue with it.